Hey, everybody, I'm Mark Horner. Thank you very much for joining us this evening, this Sunday, where I wasn't planning to do a live stream, but events unfolded and an opportunity arose. And it was another opportunity also to speak with Christian Sasse. This time, he's got some gems to share with us in the form of new video from the White Rock Lake Wildfire in southern British Columbia. Hey, Christian, how you doing tonight?
Very well, Mark. Thank you very much for getting me on your show. Thank you.
Yes, this is the third time inside of a week, but you've been delivering the goods. So you keep coming back very generously and sharing with us. And now you've got this new video. People who've been following your story know that you have a summer home very near this fire. The fire's been approaching. You had left about a week ago because it was getting so smoky, but you went back yesterday. Tell us why.
Yes, it was actually a very spontaneous decision because anybody who is in a situation like that would probably have a similar feeling. What can I do to add value or contribute, right? You want to do something, you can't just watch. And also I was getting some conflicting information about the severity of the situation, which is normal, right? Because people have different views. So I suddenly decided to pack my things and go there myself. And actually I wanted to do some live streaming so I could show people the way it really was. So that was my motivation.
Tell us about the image that's behind you today. Last two broadcasts, we saw Okanagan Lake with various amounts of forest fire smoke. Now we're seeing what appears to be a plane that's working that fire at Okanagan Lake.
Yeah, that's completely correct. So first of all, I have to say that it takes about 4 hours from Vancouver to Okanagan Lake to travel. So I did that more or less I decided just around noon to leave. So I was there in the sort of later afternoon. I arrived, refreshed myself a bit, and then already, interesting enough, if you come into Kelowna, you drive into West Kelowna. West Kelowna is a separate city to Kelowna. And West Kelowna looked completely clear. As I came down over the bridge into Kelowna, I already noticed it was getting fairly smoky, and it was actually raining. And it was, I thought, my goodness, if I'm going to try and broadcast or film anything, it's going to be very difficult. It's going to be really difficult because it was raining and there was fog or haze, I should rather say, over Lake Okanagan. I thought it's going to be really difficult. So I decided to go on the east side, just overlooking the lake. It's approximately, I guess, a mile or so across, maybe a little bit more or less that distance. And I thought I would get, with my equipment, I'd get a very good view from the east side of the lake across the west side. You have to now understand that you cannot just meander off on the west side, because there's only one single road called West Side Road. Yeah, thanks, Mark, for putting up the map. So that, as you can see, look up north, and on the west side, that is where the fire is, and it's called, as Mark already said, it's called the White Rock Lake Fire, which is quite a long name. It's a small lake somewhere in the interior between Kamloops and Kelowna. It really spread very quickly, that fire. It was spreading on Friday at a rate of about the city of the size of Vancouver. You know, I think that tells you more than talking about any hectares or acres.
So you were on the east side of the lake over here, I believe, in this general area. And across the way, there's this neighborhood called Kilney Beach.
Yes, absolutely. And so I was actually driving all the way up to Vernon, which also was under evacuation alert, because the wind had suddenly changed, Mark. It had changed from blowing south towards where our summer cottage was, and a lot of properties from other people, to suddenly the wind calming down. So it came from a category 6. It was calming down, and the wind was blowing north suddenly very strong. And this was a big danger for Vernon. Suddenly the wildfire is or was completely out of control.
We're going to see your video in just about 30 seconds, but very quickly, because a lot of that video is going to show these aircraft that are working the fire. Here's a nice screenshot that you sent me just before the broadcast.
Yes, so that depicts the situation very well. So what they use there are, they have these float planes, and they have large water tanks attached to the base, and they actually sort of skid along, or should I say, they sort of land along the water. They just touch down along the water, fill the tank, and then they would go in formation in just like you see on the picture back. So you can see the lake is not very wide. They would fly to the east, so very close to where I was actually filming. I was very, very fortunate to actually be able to capture that and then go up again. And you could see how they would combat the fire, which is approximately 10 miles north of where our summer cottage is.
Okay, so what I'd like to do now is let's take a look at it. We've got about 8 minutes. You had a lot more than that, but I've edited it down to about 8 minutes of your footage.
Mark. Thanks.
And yeah, you're welcome. And it's well worth hanging in towards the end, because as the day went on, the sun started to set, and the color on that hillside on the the west side of the lake was quite something. So let's bring up the video, and I'll have to probably adjust the audio very quickly, and we'll take care of things. So tell us what we're looking at here. It looks like you're a bit of ways still.
Yeah, so this was very interesting. As you can see, it was just still raining there, and it was quite hazy. But when you look across, this is Kilney Beach, and that is the resort, as called La Casa, where our summer cottage is. And now I'm sweet. Yeah, that's also a lot of, there are about 430 or 450 houses there. And as you go north about 10 miles, there you can see the float planes coming in and doing quite an effective job. But you can see how severe the fire is. It's now declassified today as Category 1 from 6 to 1. At the same time, you can see how minute those planes look, given the severity of the fire. So even though it has rained, which is very fortunate, there's still a lot of smoke that's developing, and the smoke is blowing slightly north. So even though it's a Category 1 fire, the temperatures are going to go up next week, and we have to hope that fire stays under control.
Indeed, we're looking at temperatures here in Washington State in the Puget Sound region, 90 degrees by Friday, I believe, and we're expecting to get some wildfire smoke in this area. Now, you were showing us the wide view. Now you're much closer, and you're also showing us this method that the planes use to get water, right?
Absolutely. As you can see very well here, this was done with actually 960 millimeter lens, so it's an 800 plus a 1.2 adapter in order to get this footage. So I was lucky to get it so close, and thanks for editing it so nicely, Mark. And there you can actually see, there's still severities there of the fire, of course, and there you can very nicely see how the water is expelled very quickly there. So, I don't know how many gallons actually, I forgot, but there were 5 planes flying in formation, doing this all the time, nonstop. It's very fortunate where we have the lake nearby, and fortunately this time, Mark, nobody was hampering the pilots, because unfortunately some of that happened a few years ago, that there were some people with their boats just interested, and then of course they can't they can't collect water. So this time, either it was due to, I'm not sure why there were no boats. Maybe people were sensible. Maybe it was just by law. But they were absolutely not hampered in doing this, which was very good. As you can see, you can see you can definitely see the planes coming in very fast. You can see the fire there. See that?
Yes.
It's stopping. So. And of course, at nighttime you can see it much better, but you can still see this is serious. And what's so serious, of course, it's spread over quite a large region, right?
Right. These wider views I thought were beneficial. We've seen several wide views because I know that people who either live there or have lived there or are not there but have property there, they'll recognize some of these wider, the landmarks in these wider views. But we also get a sense of, even though that it's small when we're wide, these planes, but we see them working, we see them teaming together. And as we get deeper toward the end of this video and the sun starts going down, you're going to get a much greater sense of that, because we're actually going to have some tighter views here opportunity. And here's the transition to near sunset. There'll be a boat out there in about a minute or so. And the folks on the boat were treated to one plane after another going right by them as they were making their pickups of the water from the lake and going right up there to the ridge.
Absolutely, Mark, and it was very spectacular. And of course, people were excited to see this. Also that we were given a break actually, where it had rained a bit, the temperatures were lower, and it was actually the break is good enough to get the fire into some control, although it's definitely classified as out of control. But at least there are different stages of out of control. I think wildfires are nearly always out of control. Here you can see how large the area is, right? And you can also see that at McKilney Beach, of course, there are houses that have been evacuated. So you can see how close the houses are. And what the planes are actually doing, you have to make a choice of where you're going to extinguish the fire or dampen the fire first. And you can see them mostly diving closer to the beach, because that's where a lot of these properties are, prioritizing before they then go on into the higher regions.
Christian, with all of this unfolding, two things. Number one, cooler temperatures beginning yesterday, certainly, and you mentioned there was a bit of drizzle, a bit of light, spotty rain. But we know that we're just days away from hotter temperatures. As I look through your footage, I could hear people making small talk. I could even hear some laughter. And I know that these are tense times, and sometimes we might want to have a little bit of an upbeat spirit to help, nervous energy, if you will. But how much apprehension did you sense from the locals as you were spending your day there behind the cameras?
It's a very good question. I met people who, just similar to us, were evacuated, and they were very nervous because it depends, unfortunately, very much where your property is, right? There are properties where you can have fire insurance, and then there are properties that are not under the how should I say, the jurisdiction of the fire brigade. I'm not sure if I'm using the correct terminology, but what I'm saying is they are not insurable, and that is really a horrible feeling. And I do know through a friend that his friend actually lost properties. So that's absolutely horrible. Can you imagine having a property just a little bit more north that's pointing upwards now into the hill there, where your property is not insured, right? And whether it's insured or not is terrible anyway to lose your home, but if it's not insured, it's absolutely devastating, right? So yes, there was a lot of apprehension and a lot of talking between people, because that's what you do to relieve stress.
A couple of nights ago when we spoke with you, the fire had been approaching your very street, at least to the naked eye in the photos that you shared with me.
Yes.
And that we shared with viewers. That glow at night, just down beyond the street, it seemed. Obviously, because of your demeanor, one is going to hope and suspect that your home and your neighborhood remain safe. Is that the case?
Well, this is of course, the wind was blowing ferociously in the direction of south. So south is going to the left on this image, right? Now you can see that the wind is blowing a little bit north. That's why Vernon was so worried about they had evacuation alert at the moment. You can get the wind, see how sensitive the wind direction is. Now there, the fire was spreading somewhere about 1 to 2 or even 3 miles per hour, which is horrendously fast, right? Completely out of control. And that's why they had the evacuation order. And people were so worried. And then we saw this horrible glow of red. I mean, at least I saw that from other people just before they evacuated. And if you have no idea of what's going on, that's also why I went up there to see it for myself. Then it's the most scary is always the unknown.
Well, one thing I'd like to know is how inclined are you to go back with your photography equipment? And the reason I ask that is I want to let people know of a situation, and that is you are an avid live streamer. And it's not simply a situation where you like to use phones. You have professional equipment. but you're at the mercy oftentimes of Wi-Fi and cellular strength. And I want to put a shout out to the people of Vernon and the northern parts of Okanagan Lake. This man can deliver excellent live coverage and has tremendous equipment, including an 800 millimeter lens. He'll listen to you if you want to know what properties look like that are visible from wherever he can get, and he'll share that with you. He'll share that in a live stream. He'll photograph it, but to go live, he needs Wi-Fi oftentimes. So if you're someone who might want to help Christian out, I don't think he'll mind me sharing with you that he is Sasse Photo on Facebook. You can get a hold of him there, facebook.com/SASSEPHOTO, Sasse Photo. So Christian, would you be willing to go back and do some live streaming?
Well, absolutely. Look, this is my strength. This is my my passion also, Mark. Thank you for mentioning that. I've been very lucky in times of non-crisis, or I should also say that there was also times of wildlife crisis where we had the incredible heat in June. There were some very friendly people who, who gave me, they gave me something to drink. They gave me access to their property so that I could live stream. I do this out of passion, out of educational purpose. I don't make any profit on this. And of course, I mean, there's nothing better than being able to live stream something for people, because people want to see, what does my property look like? Can you go a little bit more left, and so on. That is something I can really contribute from. Now, the issue we had yesterday was, and I didn't even realize that I was going to live stream. However, I had no possibility on, exactly right there. I had zero signal, and I didn't expect that. And then I was talking to another engineer. I'm an engineer myself. And he said, well, Christian, I think the explanation here is quite simple. The explanation is because they turned off the power on the west side, which they, by the way, just restored. And thereby, of course, the cell phone towers from the west side are the ones that you have access to, not on your side, because it's a very steep valley. And that makes complete sense to me. Yes, of course, we are not receiving the signal from our own side. We're receiving the signal from the other side. And thus, any local Wi-Fi that people have is very important. That is non-cell phone. If I could use that to broadcast, that is the type of thing that really helps me a lot. And fortunately, Wi-Fi nowadays is not costly anymore. But to have some bandwidth and actually be able to show people what's going on, I would be incredibly grateful. And I know many other people would be too.
Christian, we mentioned your Facebook page, facebook.com/Sasse Photo, SASSEPHOTO. People can message you there. In the past, I know you've shared one of your Gmail addresses. Would you feel comfortable doing that in case that's
yes, of course, absolutely. Go ahead, Mark. That's fine.
It's sassephoto@gmail.com. So SASSEPHOTO @gmail.com. So if you're someone who lives along the shores of Okanagan Lake on the north end, if you are down there on the water's edge, or perhaps you have a view up on a ridge and you have Wi-Fi or a way for Christian to connect to internet so that he can live stream and continue to produce updates for you with his storytelling and his excellent equipment, he'd love to hear from you. He's a great guy. I can vouch for him. I've known him a number of years. He's been very good to me over the years. Very well mannered, and he behaves. So
thank you, Mark.
You're most welcome. So there is that. Now, of course, we mentioned the temperatures coming up at the end of this week. We're about to begin a new work week for most people, but towards the end of the week, by Friday, we're expected to be very hot here on the west side of the mountain. So usually that means it's even hotter on the other side of the mountains, such as this location right here.
Yes. So it's a long August, Mark. It's a very long August. It's a devastating August, and can go all the way maybe to mid or even end of September. This is something I have not seen before. I know that this can occur in this area, but unfortunately, it's getting more frequent where we have these wildfires. So it's something that is worrying. So again, anybody who has Wi-Fi, I'd be very happy to contribute on my part and share with you whatever is going on, whatever is newsworthy.
Christian, as you observe these, I mean, I think you probably learned a lot about planes attacking a wildfire or trying to stop it all in one day than you might have known your entire life. I'm going out on a limb there, but you watched at least five planes
Yes.
working as a team and really concentrating on one hotspot at a time. That's what I noticed. These weren't five planes going to five different locations. These weren't five planes going to three different locations. All five planes, one after the other, would drop on the very same patch of ground.
That's completely correct. That made it a little bit more easy for me because you know, you have to do some prediction. I have no idea where they're going to throw the water, but I was always watching the first plane. Then I would zoom in with my large lens and get the so-called what Mark would call the money shot. Right? I learned that word from him. But that's exactly what gave me the possibility to actually plan, because they really work very predictable. And it would be interesting actually to talk to one of these pilots. I have no idea what what sequence and what procedure they have with this.
Yeah, that would be a great interview. While we're continuing to look at this a second time through, and it's well worth it, especially this stuff towards the end here. Boy, what a scene. I'll read to you some of the feedback and questions that we're getting in the live chat on YouTube right now during this live stream. Real Estate Nanaimo, our friend Janine in Nanaimo, British Columbia on Vancouver Island says, great to see you two streaming together. Yay. Cosmic Rose says, Mark, please give my best to Christian. I got on my iPad now, so she's apparently watching on the iPad. Wonderful. Cosmic Rose is agreeing with Janine about something. Let's see, I can skip some of this stuff, can't I? Perfect terrain to climb the hillsides. Well, Christian, that's what you were doing and whatnot to get the wildlife live streams and pictures earlier this summer before all of this broke out. You were getting up to get to the osprey nests.
Oh my goodness, that's a story. When I hear perfect time to climb, well, it depends how you climb. If you climb without or with equipment, I can tell you.
Yeah.
With equipment, wow, it's tough. It's very tough. It's very tough. And that's what I do. I climb with equipment, and it really is something else, you know.
One of the things you addressed in our last live stream broadcast was, we all have our own points of view on these fires, and it's understandable. We have biases, and we have different experiences. Last time we spoke, you characterized the situation as quite severe.
Yes.
I think was your conclusion. How would you characterize things tonight?
Oh, I would at the moment characterize it, at least for the next days, as not dangerous, as promising, really promising, because it also, this fire was so severe, Mark, that many were that I think even the authorities were taken by surprise. Now at least they are more prepared. We have a break, and that break is very fortunate to get more organized, right? I mean, nobody knows how this is going to develop, right? Hopefully, no strong winds. That's all I can say. Also, I mean, I was just thinking of Janine. She was saying, always make sure that you know your escape routes. And I completely agree with that, Janine. At the same time, there are none here because they have closed all the forest roads for good reasons, right? To protect us from irresponsible or even accidental ignition of fires, right? So there is only one road, and that's the shore road, and that's why you have to pay a lot of attention to the weather conditions and so on.
Earlier this week, Christian, you were really concerned just a few days ago, two or three nights ago, that you might wake up if you fell asleep to learn that your house may not be standing anymore. It is standing. How I know that I remember very distinctly you said that you're privileged and you weren't worried. You were concerned, of course. Worried, I would think, is a fair word too, but you recognize that there were some people who were even who would be even more deeply impacted. Your house is still standing. It seemed, from where I'm sitting here in the Seattle area, that things were extremely tenuous, to say the least, as to whether this summer home that you purchased, you and your lovely wife Rosanna, earlier this year, only about 3 months ago, roughly, give or take, might soon be gone. I mean, that must have been really something. I think you used the word numb at one point.
Yes, you come to a port of almost numb and resignation, right? But it's not only that, Mark, it's everything, because it's a wonderful community there, really nice people. And they come also from Alberta. And I have to say, a lot of people who say, the people from Alberta, well, those planes there came from Alberta, as far as I understand. So the provinces work with each other, so all the animosities that we have for all kinds of silly reasons, when we are in crisis, they suddenly are gone. Then, of course, I'm also thinking of the wildlife, where I'm very attached to the bighorn sheep, the coyotes, the birds, the ospreys, the eagles, the red-tailed hawks, the deer, and so on, and so on, and so on, vultures, all these, these beautiful forests we have, and what happens to all the wildlife. For me, that is painful. It's really painful. And, when I'm allowed back, I will go back and I will go and explore what is going on there. Yeah.
For background, Christian, you've shared with me in the past, the last 2 or 3 months, more than one occasion where you're simply driving down the road at this new place, that you bought over there. And right along the side of the road, there are bighorn sheep, and you pause and you roll down your window and you look out there and you record some video from your driver's seat. It's just remarkable how close by the wildlife is in that area.
Oh, it's so beautiful, Mark. It is such a gift that we have when we can see wildlife like that. And bighorn sheep, I just had to hold my phone out, crossing the road, and you just slow down and just watch them. And it's just so wonderful, the same where I would have an eagle flying above the house, and next moment it would be a turkey vulture, right? And then it would be an osprey. And I would hear these wonderful sounds. You can go into the forest and you would hear an osprey crying, and there would be absolute silence. And you would just hear that sound, and you'd suddenly have deer coming. I know that cougars were seen, and so on and so on. So it's just wonderful. Coyote, where you have to be careful, of course. But all these, it's just wonderful when you wake up in the morning and you get up and you go straight into forest. I never thought about wildfire there. And now, of course, I have a very different view on it.
Wonderful. Christian, is there anything I haven't asked you that you would like to add?
Oh, Mark, you've been such a good friend. And also, I have to give Mark a lot of compliment. He was been absolutely wonderful, because he accompanied me on a very long day yesterday. You have to think, I left just before noon, went to Vancouver. So I left from Vancouver all the way to all the way up actually to Vernon, right? I drove all the way up to Vernon, spent a few hours there, and then at nighttime, I still had so much energy. I went to got another coffee and drove back, and was home at 12:30. And Mark accompanied me. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit tired, through the whole journey, which was absolutely remarkable. So thank you, Mark, for doing that. And thank you also for putting the clip together, which you really did beautifully. I just didn't have the time nor the energy to do that. So thank you so much, my friend.
You're most welcome. I know that you shot on the Sony Z90. What was the Nikon that you mentioned that you shot on?
Oh, that was the Z7, actually. Nikon Z7, very good, together with an 800 millimeter lens and a 1.2 extender. So superb, absolutely superb cameras to do this job, yes.
Wonderful. Needed to transcode on my end the Sony footage, yes. But ultimately I brought everything into LumaFusion on my iPad and was able to edit it that way. I love having small devices and being able to edit, because when we need to go out in the field and we need to be mobile, as well as anybody, we like the gear to be minimal and as small as possible, but get great results at the same time.
Yeah, and I'm excited, by the way. I'm very excited. I won't tell you what new gimmick I have to transport my stuff. I'm going to show that one day when I get back. Hopefully when the wildfires die down again, I'll show you something new. You won't guess what it is, but it's something I had specially made to make me more portable. But that's going to be another story.
Wonderful. And again, if you want to help out Christian in terms of any Wi-Fi availability,
oh yes,
the north end of Okanagan Lake, facebook.com/Sasse Photo, SASSEPHOTO. Also, regardless of whether or not you have Wi-Fi to offer to help them out, you can go to that Facebook page to get the latest from Christian directly. Typically, it's all about bald eagles and other raptors and even some nighttime night sky photography. But he's sharing on this personal level because of what's been transpiring with the fire near his summer home. So he's been sharing updates there as well. Just one last glance at the YouTube chat. Okay, and there's nice conversations going on amongst the crowd there. We thank you very much for watching live on YouTube. Really appreciate it. And if you're catching the replay, thank you very much. Christian, thank you, sir. You've been very complimentary, but you ultimately offered your footage for me to share in this on this platform, and I want to thank you for that. Can you stick around for just a couple minutes after we ended up?
And thank you, everyone, for taking the time, for listening, and also caring about the humans, the nature, the people who care about wildlife, the people who try and control wildfires and so on. So thank you so much.
Right on. Thanks, everybody. We really appreciate it. Have a wonderful evening or day wherever you might be. So long, everyone.